Hello, hello, and welcome back to the City of English, the place where English stops feeling like a subject in a textbook and starts feeling like a conversation with a friend. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jason. If you're new here, this is a channel for people all over the world who want to speak English with more confidence, more clarity, and honestly, more personality. We don't do boring grammar lectures here. We talk, we laugh, we make mistakes together. And by the end of every episode, you walk away actually able to use what you learned.
And today's topic? Oh, this is a big one. This is one of those topics that learners study for years and still feel a little shaky about. Today, we're talking about 3 small words that completely change the way you sound in English.
Could, would, and should. 3 words, huge impact. If you've ever frozen for a second before asking someone a favor or wondered why your sentence sounded rude when you didn't mean it to be, this episode is for you.
By the end of today, you'll know exactly when to use each one, how native speakers actually use them in daily conversation, the mistakes almost everyone makes, and a simple trick to make them automatic, so you're not translating in your head anymore, you're just speaking.
So get comfortable, maybe grab a cup of tea or coffee, and let's get into it.
So, Anna, before we break each word down individually, let's talk about why these 3 even belong together. What do could, would, and should actually have in common?
Great question. All 3 of them are what we call modal verbs. And modal verbs are special because they don't describe an action directly. They describe your attitude toward an action. Are you being polite? Are you imagining something? Are you giving advice? The modal verb tells the listener how to interpret what comes next.
Right, and that's actually the hardest part for learners. It's not that the grammar rule is complicated, it's that the feeling behind the word is what changes everything. The same sentence with can versus could can sound completely different in tone.
Exactly. Think about it this way. Imagine you walk into a coffee shop. If you say, "Give me a coffee," that sounds like an order, almost rude, even if you didn't mean it that way. But if you say, "Could I get a coffee, please?" Suddenly you sound polite, easygoing, pleasant to talk to.
Same request, completely different impression. And that's really the heart of today's episode. These words aren't just grammar, they're social tools. They help you build relationships, avoid sounding harsh, and express yourself with nuance.
So let's start with the first one, could.
All right. Could. Most learners know it as the past tense of can, and that's true, but it's only one small part of the story.
Let's start there anyway, since it's the most familiar use. Could, as the past form of can, expresses past ability, something you were able to do before.
For example, when I was younger, I could run 5 kilometers without stopping. Now I can barely run to catch a bus.
Same here, honestly. So that's use number 1. Past ability. Simple enough. But here's where it gets interesting. Could is also one of the most common words for making polite requests and offers.
This is huge for daily conversation. Instead of saying, "Can you help me?" which is fine, by the way, completely correct, saying, "Could you help me?" adds a layer of softness and respect. It sounds more considerate.
Let's give some real examples. Imagine you're at work and you need a colleague to send you a file. You could say, "Could you send me that report before lunch?" That sounds professional and polite without sounding demanding.
Or imagine you're traveling and you need directions. "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the train station?" That's a wonderful, natural way to approach a stranger. It shows respect for their time.
Now here's use number 3, and this one surprises a lot of learners. Could for possibility. Not asking permission, not talking about the past, just saying something is possible.
Like, "It could rain later, so bring an umbrella." Or, "She could be at home, or she could still be at work. I'm not sure."
Right. In that sense, could means maybe, or it's possible that. It's not certain, it's just an option you're considering.
And there's a 4th use, too, suggestions. "We could go to that new restaurant tonight." That's a gentle suggestion, not a strong demand. It leaves room for the other person to say yes or no comfortably.
That's such an important cultural point, actually. In English-speaking conversation, especially casual conversation, people often avoid sounding too direct. We could go to the restaurant feels much softer than let's go to the restaurant, even though the meaning is almost the same.
So, to summarize, could for past ability, polite requests, possibility, and soft suggestions. 4 uses, 1 small word.
Beautifully said. Now, let's move to the second word, would.
Would might be the trickiest of the 3, honestly, because it shows up in so many different grammatical structures.
True, but if we break it down piece by piece, it becomes much easier. Let's start with the most common everyday use. Polite requests and offers, very similar to could.
For example, would you like some tea? That's an offer. Or, could you mind closing the window? That's a polite request and honestly a very British way of asking for something, but it's used everywhere in English now.
And here's a small but very important detail. After would you mind, we use the ing form of the verb, not the base form. So it's would you mind closing the window, not would you mind close the window. That ing form trips up a lot of learners.
Good catch. We'll come back to that in the mistakes section. Now, the second major use of would, talking about hypothetical or imaginary situations. This is the famous if sentence structure, what grammar books call the second conditional.
For example, if I had more time, I would travel around the world. Notice this isn't real, it's imagination. I don't have more time right now, so this is a dream, a hypothetical thought.
Or, if I were the manager, I would change the schedule. Again, not real, just imagining a different situation and what you would do in it.
This structure is incredibly useful for expressing opinions and preferences in a gentle, hypothetical way. Instead of saying, you should do this, which can sound strong, you could say, if I were you, I would talk to her first. It's advice, but softened through imagination.
Beautiful example. Now, use number 3, talking about repeated actions in the past, kind of like a memory or a habit.
Yes, for example, when I was a child, my grandmother would tell us stories every night before bed. This isn't about ability like could, it's describing something that happened again and again, a repeated memory from the past.
It has a nostalgic storytelling feeling to it, doesn't it? Every summer, we would go to the lake and swim until sunset. It almost sounds like the beginning of a beautiful memory.
Exactly, and that's actually a wonderful way to make your English sound more natural and expressive. Using would instead of just always gives your sentences a warmer, more reflective tone.
And finally, one more common use, would like, which is simply a polite way of saying want.
I would like a glass of water, please. Sounds much more polite than I want a glass of water, and we often shorten it in speech. I'd like a coffee. I'd like to ask a question.
That contraction, I'd, is something you'll hear constantly in real conversation. Once you get comfortable with it, your English starts sounding much smoother, much more natural.
So to review, would for polite requests and offers, hypothetical situations, repeated past actions, and polite wants with would like. A very flexible, very powerful word.
Now let's talk about should, probably the most straightforward of the 3, but still full of small details that matter.
Should is mainly used for advice, recommendations, and expectations. If you want to tell someone what's a good idea, should is your word.
For example, you should drink more water every day. That's advice, a recommendation for someone's health and well-being.
Or in a word context, you should double-check the numbers before sending the report. Friendly, helpful advice, not an order.
And that's an important distinction. Should is not as strong as must or have to. Those words express obligation, something required. Should is gentler. It's a suggestion, even if it's a strong one.
Right. Think of the difference between you must submit the form by Friday and you should submit the form soon. The first one sounds like a rule. The second one sounds like friendly advice.
For example, the package should arrive tomorrow. That means you expect it to arrive based on normal shipping times, but you're not 100% certain.
Or, she should be home by now. Her train usually arrives at 6. Again, an expectation based on typical patterns, not a guarantee.
There's also a very useful past form, should have, plus the past participle, which we use to talk about regret or a mistake that already happened.
This one is emotional. I should have called her back. That means you didn't call her back and now you regret it. We should have left earlier, meaning you left late and now you're dealing with the consequences.
This structure is incredibly common in everyday conversation, especially when people are reflecting on decisions. I shouldn't have eaten that whole pizza, meaning you did eat it and now you feel a little guilty.
We've all been there. So to summarize should, giving advice, expressing expectations, and talking about past regrets with should have.
3 small words, 9 total uses between them. And once you understand the feeling behind each one, using them correctly becomes second nature.
All right, let's talk honestly now. Where do learners usually go wrong with these words? Because understanding the rule is one thing, but avoiding the common traps is another.
Mistake number 1, mixing up would and will in conditional sentences. A lot of learners say things like, if I will have time, I would help you. That's incorrect. In this kind of sentence, we use the simple past after if and would in the second part. If I had time, I would help you.
Great point. Mistake number 2, forgetting the ing form after would you mind. People often say, would you mind to close a door, when it should be, would you mind closing the door?
Mistake number 3, and this is a big one, using should and must interchangeably, when the strength of the meaning is actually quite different. Saying, you should stop at every red light, makes it sound optional, like advice, when actually it's a rule, so must is more accurate there.
Good example. On the flip side, using must when you only mean advice can sound too forceful. If a friend asks what restaurant to try, saying you must go to that place can feel a little intense. You should try that place feels warmer, friendlier.
Mistake number 4. After should have, learners sometimes use the base form of the verb instead of the past participle. People say, I should have went earlier, instead of the correct form, I should have gone earlier.
That one is extremely common, even with more advanced learners, because went feels natural since it's the normal past tense form. But remember, after have, we always need the past participle, gone, done, seen, eaten, not the simple past form.
Mistake number 5. Overusing can when could would sound more natural and polite, especially with strangers or in professional settings. It's not wrong to say, can you help me? But in situations requiring more formality or respect, could often fits better.
And one final, more subtle mistake, pronunciation. Many learners pronounce the L sound too strongly in could, would, and should. In natural, fast speech, these words are often pronounced more like could, would, and should. The L almost disappears.
That's such a good point, Jason. Grammar is half the picture. Sounding natural also means matching the rhythm and pronunciation that native speakers actually use in real conversation.
Let's bring this to life with a quick story. Meet Daniel. Imagine he's a young professional who just started a new job in an international company.
On his first day, Daniel wanted to ask his manager a question, but he was nervous. In his head, he thought, can I ask you something? Which isn't wrong, but it felt a little too direct for a first meeting with his new boss.
So instead, Daniel took a breath and said, excuse me, could I ask you a quick question? Immediately, his manager smiled and said, of course, go ahead.
That small shift from can to could made Daniel sound thoughtful and respectful from day one.
Later that week, Daniel was invited to a team dinner. When the waiter came, instead of saying, I want the pasta, Daniel said, I would like the pasta, please. Simple, polite, and it made a good impression on his new colleagues sitting around the table.
A few days later, Daniel made a small mistake in a report. He forgot to double-check a number, and it caused some confusion. Reflecting on it that evening, he thought to himself, I should have reviewed it one more time before sending it.
That's such a relatable moment, isn't it? Using should have to express a small regret and learning from it, not to punish himself, but to do better next time.
By the end of his first month, Daniel wasn't translating these words in his head anymore. When his coworker asked what she should do about a scheduling conflict, Daniel naturally said, if I were you, I would talk to the team lead directly. That would probably solve it faster.
And that's the goal, right? Not memorizing rules, but reaching that point where could, would, and should flow out naturally because you understand the feeling behind them, not just the grammar.
Time for our favorite segment, Vocabulary Spotlight. A few useful words and phrases from today's episode that you can start using right away.
First word, hypothetical. This means something imagined, not real, just a possibility you're thinking about. That's a hypothetical situation. It hasn't actually happened.
Next, considerate. This describes someone who thinks carefully about other people's feelings before acting. She's always so considerate when she asks for favors.
Third phrase, to double check. This means to check something a second time to make sure it's correct. Please double check the numbers before you send the email.
Fourth, nostalgic. A warm, slightly emotional feeling when remembering something pleasant from the past. Talking about my childhood always makes me feel a little nostalgic.
And finally, second nature. This means something has become so natural and automatic to you that you don't even have to think about it. After enough practice, using these modal verbs will become second nature.
5 wonderful words to add to your personal vocabulary bank today.
All right, here's today's grammar tip, a small trick that will make all of this much easier to remember.
Here it is. Think of could, would, and should as softer, gentler versions of can, will, and must.
Could is a softer can. Would is a more imaginative version connected to will. And should is a softer, friendlier version of must.
So anytime you're speaking and you want your English to sound warmer, kinder, more polite, reach for these 3 words instead of their stronger cousins.
It's a small mental shift, but it completely changes how confident and considerate you sound in conversation.
And now it's your turn. Today's listener challenge. In the comments below, write 3 sentences, one using could, one using would, and one using should about your own life. It could be a request, a hypothetical dream, or a piece of advice you give yourself.
For example, you might write, I could learn a new language this year. If I had more free time, I would travel more. I should practice English every single day.
We'll be reading through the comments, and we might even feature some of your sentences in a future episode.
So don't just watch, participate. That's really how language becomes part of you.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Let's do a quick recap. Could for past ability, polite requests, possibility, and gentle suggestions.
Would for polite offers and requests, hypothetical situations, repeated past actions, and polite wants.
And should for advice, expectations, and reflecting on past regrets with should have.
3 small words, endless possibilities for how you express yourself.
If this episode helped you, please give it a like, subscribe to the City of English, and share it with a friend who's also learning. It genuinely helps us keep making free content for learners around the world.
Practice these words this week in your thoughts, in your conversations, even talking to yourself. The more you use them, the more natural they become.
Until next time, keep speaking, keep practicing, and remember, every confident English speaker started exactly where you are right now.
This has been the City of English. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye for now.